What if I told you the most powerful tribe in Arabia didn't protect the Kaaba? They needed it more than anything else, because their power, their wealth, their entire identity depended on one thing: a cube of stone in the middle of a desert. And when that was threatened, they couldn't defend it. So the question is, who was really in control? Because the story of Quraysh is not just about power. It's about how power is built and how easily it can collapse. The Seeking Muslim presents Prophet Muhammad series, or Episode 2, Quraysh, the Guardians of the Kaaba, the first foundation, load before Quraysh. Long before Quraysh became powerful, this valley had a different purpose. Two men stood here, Prophet Ibrahim and his son, Prophet Ismail. They raised the Kaaba, stone by stone, not as a symbol of power, but as a center of submission. No idols, no images, no intermediaries. Just one message: worship Allah alone. For generations, that message remained. Pilgrims came, not for trade, not for politics, but for devotion. But time does what it always does. It changes people. And when people change, so does the meaning of what they inherit.
The slow corruption.
At first, the changes were small, so small, they were almost invisible. No one woke up one day and abandoned the truth. It didn't happen like that. It began quietly. A practice here, a tradition there. New customs appeared. Old rituals slowly adjusted. What was once clear became slightly blurred, and when something becomes unclear, it becomes easier to change. Generations passed, and with each generation, the original message became more distant, not rejected, just forgotten. Then came something that would redefine everything. Idols, not introduced with resistance, not forced, but accepted. At first, just one. A symbol, a representation, something people could see, something they could touch. It felt harmless. Then another appeared, and another, each one tied to a tribe, each one carrying meaning. And slowly, the Kaaba began to change. It was no longer empty, it was no longer simple. It was becoming crowded, not just with objects, but with ideas. Each idol represented a belief, each belief represented a group, and each group wanted to be seen, so more idols were added, not by force, but by demand, until the Kaaba was filled not with truth, but with representation. And that changed everything, because now every tribe saw itself inside the Kaaba. Every tribe felt included, recognized, connected, and that connection was powerful. It gave people a reason to return, again and again, year after year, not just for worship, but for identity. Without realizing it, the Kaaba had become more than a place of devotion. It had become a center of attraction, a place where tribes gathered, where relationships formed, where influence spread, and where people gather. Something always follows: trade, opportunity, power. Markets began to grow around pilgrimage. Voices filled the valley. Goods were exchanged. Wealth began to circulate. And the more people came, the stronger that system became. No one stopped it, because no one saw it as a problem. It felt natural. It felt beneficial, but beneath it all, something had already changed. The purpose of the Kaaba was no longer what it once was, and once that shift happens, it doesn't stay contained. It spreads quietly until one day it defines everything.
The rise of Quraysh.
At this point in history, Mecca was not a unified city. It was a settlement divided. Different clans held influence, different groups controlled different functions, and at the center of it all, the Kaaba, but it was not under Quraysh. It was controlled by another tribe, the tribe of Khuza'ah. They had taken authority over Mecca generations earlier. They managed the Kaaba, controlled access, oversaw pilgrimage. Quraysh, at this stage, were present, but not dominant. They were scattered, without central authority, without unified leadership, until one man changed that. His name was Qusay ibn Kilab. He was not born into power. As a child, he grew up away from Mecca, raised among his mother's people, far from the center of influence. But he knew his lineage. He was a descendant of Fihr ibn the figure from whom Quraysh traced their identity. And that lineage mattered. Because in Arabia, lineage was legitimacy. When Qusay returned to Mecca, he didn't return as a warrior. He returned with strategy. He married into power. His marriage to Haba bint Hulail connected him directly to the ruling tribe. Her father, Hulail, was a leader of Khuza'ah, a guardian of the Kaaba. This was not coincidence. This was positioning. And when Hulail died, a moment of instability opened. Control of the Kaaba became contested. And Qusay moved, not recklessly, not loudly, strategically. He gathered support, strengthened alliances, built backing among Quraysh clans. Then came conflict, not just physical, but political. Negotiations, disputes, power struggles until eventually, Qusay gained control. Some accounts describe open confrontation, others emphasize negotiated transfer. But the outcome is clear. Khuza'ah lost control, and Qusay took it. For the first time, Quraysh held authority over Mecca, but gaining power was only the beginning. Because without structure, power collapses. And Qusay understood that. He did not allow Mecca to remain fragmented. He reorganized it. He brought Quraysh together, not as scattered clans, but as a unified force. He assigned roles, defined responsibilities, created order, and at the center of this system, he established Dar al-Nadwa. This was more than a building. It was the first political institution of Mecca. A council, a meeting place, a center of decision. Making no major decision was made without it. War, marriage alliances, trade agreements, everything passed through this space. Qusay also centralized key functions: custodianship of the Kaaba, provision of water to pilgrims, provision of food, banner leadership in times of war. These were not symbolic roles, they were mechanisms of control, because whoever serves the people earns their loyalty, and whoever controls the Kaaba commands their respect. Qusay combined both: religious authority, social responsibility, political organization. This was not tribal leadership anymore. This was system building. And for the first time, Mecca was not just a settlement. It was structured. And Quraysh were no longer just a tribe. They were an institution. This was not just unity. This was consolidation. And from this foundation, everything else would grow: trade, influence, power, but also dependence. Because now, Quraysh's rise was tied to one thing above all: the Kaaba. The first political system in Mecca, Qusay's greatest achievement, was not taking power. It was making sure no one could easily take it from him, because power without structure doesn't last. And Qusay understood that better than anyone before him. So he began to build something Mecca had never seen: a system, not loose tribal influence, not temporary alliances, a structured order. He reorganized Quraysh and settled them around the Kaaba. This was deliberate. The closer a clan lived to the Kaaba, the greater its status, and by placing Quraysh at the center, Qusay didn't just unite them, he anchored them to power. Then he did something even more important. He institutionalized leadership. At the heart of this system stood Dar al-Nadwa. This was not just a meeting place, it was the first formal council of Mecca, a place where decisions were not improvised, but discussed, controlled, recorded in memory and tradition. No major action happened without it. War strategies were decided here, marriage alliances approved here, trade agreements negotiated here, even the coming of age of young leaders was recognized within its walls. Entry itself was restricted. Only those of influence, only those of maturity could participate. This wasn't chaos anymore. This was governance. But Qusay didn't centralize everything in one place. He distributed power carefully, because a system survives when roles are defined, and every role he created served a purpose. The custodianship of the Kaaba, known as hijaba, was assigned. Those who held it controlled access, held the keys, managed the sacred space. Then came Sikaya, the provision of water to pilgrims. In a desert environment, this was not a minor task. It was survival. Water had to be sourced, stored, distributed, and those who controlled it earned respect. Then Rifada, the responsibility of feeding pilgrims. This required wealth, organization, commitment. Food was collected, prepared, and distributed to visitors. This wasn't charity. It was influence. Because feeding people creates loyalty. Then came Liwa, the carrying of the banner in times of war, a symbol of leadership, of unity, of command. And beyond these, political negotiation, conflict resolution, external relations, all passed through Quraysh. Each responsibility was assigned to specific clans, not randomly, strategically, so that no single group controlled everything, but all groups remained invested in the system. This balance was critical, because it prevented internal collapse and strengthened collective control. Over time, this system created something powerful: dependence. Pilgrims depended on Quraysh for access, for water, for food. Tribes depended on Quraysh for mediation, for safe passage, for connection. And Mecca itself depended on this structure to function. Control was no longer enforced by force. It was sustained by necessity. And that is far more stable. Because when people depend on you, they protect your position themselves. Quraysh didn't just rule Mecca. They became essential to it. And once a system reaches that point, it becomes very difficult to challenge, because removing it means disrupting everything. This was Qusay's real legacy, not power, but a system that could outlive him, and it did, for generations. Until that same system would one day be tested, and when it was, its strength and its weakness would both be exposed. Economic revolution, trade networks. Quraysh didn't stop at political control, because control of a city is limited, but control of movement, that creates power. And Quraysh understood something others ignored. Mecca had no rivers, no fertile land, no agriculture to sustain wealth. On its own, it should have remained insignificant, but it didn't, because Quraysh turned a weakness into an advantage. They made Mecca a crossroads, a place people passed through, stopped at, returned to, and from that idea, they built something far more powerful than territory. They built networks, not random trade, not occasional caravans, but organized, seasonal movement, structured, predictable, reliable. Two major journeys defined their system. North, to Syria, south, to Yemen. These were not short trips. They crossed vast deserts. Hostile terrain, uncertain conditions. Weeks, sometimes months. On the move, the northern journey, toward the lands connected to the Byzantine world. Markets filled with goods from distant regions, textiles, metalwork, luxury items. The southern journey, toward Yemen, a gateway to Indian Ocean trade. Spices, ulaya, incense, exotic goods. Quraysh didn't just transport products. They connected worlds, and they did it consistently, winter and summer, year after year. This rhythm became known as their seasonal caravans, not occasional opportunities, but a system. And systems create stability. But trade in Arabia wasn't safe. Caravans were vulnerable. Raids were common. Tribes fought for resources. Any unprotected caravan was a target. So why were Quraysh different? Why were their caravans not constantly attacked? Because they didn't rely on force. They relied on relationships. Quraysh built agreements with tribes along their routes, not just temporary deals, but ongoing understandings. Protection in exchange for cooperation. Access in exchange for respect. They negotiated safe passage, maintained neutrality, avoided unnecessary conflict. They didn't dominate other tribes. They connected them, and that made them valuable, because when multiple tribes benefit from your movement, they have no reason to stop it. They protect it. This was strategy, not luck. Quraysh mastered balance. They avoided taking sides in regional conflicts, maintained ties across different groups, adapted to shifting power dynamics. While other tribes fought over territory, Quraysh moved between them, carrying goods, carrying information, carrying influence. Over time, their reputation grew, not as warriors, but as reliable traders. Trust became their currency, and trust opened doors to new markets, new alliances, new opportunities. Wealth began to flow into Mecca, not through conquest, but through circulation. Markets expanded, activity increased, and Mecca transformed from a remote settlement into a commercial hub. And at the center of it all were Quraysh. Their system connected north and south, desert and city, tribe and tribe. They became intermediaries. And intermediaries control exchange, and you control value. This was their real power, not land, not armies, but position. Because if you control the network, you influence everything that moves through it. And networks outlast wars, because when conflict ends, trade returns. And Quraysh were always there, waiting, ready, connected. At the center of everything stood the Kaaba, ancient, silent, unshaken by time, a cube of stone in the heart of the desert, yet more powerful than any throne in Arabia. For centuries, it had been a place of devotion, a sanctuary attributed to the legacy of Prophet Ibrahim and his son, Prophet Ismail, a symbol of pure monotheism. But now, its meaning was changing, not suddenly, not violently, but deliberately, quietly, strategically. The Quraysh understood something others did not. Faith could unify people, but controlled faith could control them. So they didn't remove the Kaaba. They didn't challenge its sanctity. They redefined it. One by one, idols began to appear. At first a few, then more, then dozens, until eventually, hundreds. Traditions speak of around 360 idols placed in and around the Kaaba, each one representing a tribe, a lineage, a belief. Among them were powerful names like Hubal, alongside Al-Lat, Al-Uzza, and Manat. Every tribe that entered Mecca saw something familiar, something theirs, and that was the point. Because when people feel represented, they feel respected. When they feel respected, they feel safe. Every year, tribes from across the Arabian Peninsula would journey toward Mecca. Caravans stretched across the desert, loaded with goods, animals, wealth. They didn't just come to pray, they came to trade. Markets like Uk, Majana, and Dahalmaj thrived during pilgrimage seasons. Poets competed, merchants negotiated, alliances were formed. And at the center of it all stood the Kaaba. The Quraysh controlled access. They controlled hospitality. They controlled security, and that gave them something no other tribe possessed. Stability. In a land defined by conflict, Mecca became neutral ground, a sacred zone where fighting was forbidden, where enemies could walk side by side. This wasn't accidental, it was design, without ever declaring it openly. The Quraysh had done something extraordinary. They turned religion into infrastructure, not by destroying belief, but by organizing it. They didn't deny spirituality. They monetized it. They didn't erase the sacred. They managed it. The Kaaba was still holy, but now it was also profitable, and with profit came influence. With influence came leverage. With leverage came power. Power that extended beyond Mecca. Power that shaped trade routes. Power that influenced tribal politics. Power that made the Quraysh untouchable. But there was a flaw in this system, a silent tension beneath the surface. Because when belief becomes a tool, its meaning begins to erode. What was once built for the worship of one God had become a network of many. What was once simple had become complex. What was once pure had become negotiated. And systems built on negotiation are fragile because they depend on balance. And balance never lasts forever. For now the structure stood strong. Mecca was thriving. The Quraysh were at their peak, guardians of the Kaaba, masters of trade, architects of influence. But history doesn't reward control forever. It tests it. Because the very system that gave them power was about to be challenged, not by an army, not by a rival tribe, but by a message that would reject every idol, a message that would restore the Kaaba to its original purpose, a message that would shake the foundations of everything they built. And when that message came, it wouldn't just question their beliefs, it would threaten their entire system. Because this story was never just about religion. It's about how power is built, and how easily it can collapse. And what the Quraysh didn't realize was that the collapse had already begun. By the time of Abdul Muttalib, the Quraysh had reached something rare in Arabia, not just influence, dominance, not through conquest, not through empire, but through control of something far more powerful. Systems. Mecca stood at the center of it all, not because of geography, not because of resources, but because of what it represented. At its heart stood the Kaaba, ancient, revered, untouchable, and the Quraysh were its guardians. This title was not symbolic, it was authority, because whoever controlled the Kaaba controlled the spiritual center of Arabia. And whoever controlled the spiritual center controlled the people. By this time, the system was complete. Every piece in place, every function assigned, every advantage secured. Religiously, they oversaw the Kaaba, managed its rituals, maintained its sanctity, at least outwardly. Pilgrims came from every direction, not forced, but drawn, and when they arrived, they entered a system already controlled. Economically, the Quraysh dominated trade. Their caravans moved with confidence, north to Syria, south to Yemen, season after season. Their routes were protected, their agreements respected, their reputation solid. Wealth flowed into Mecca, not in sudden bursts, but continuously, predictably, and predictable wealth creates stability. Politically, they had structure, a system rooted in what Qusay ibn Kilab began generations earlier. Leadership wasn't random, it was organized. Decisions were made collectively, but controlled carefully. Key responsibilities remained within powerful clans. The Kaaba was guarded. Pilgrims were provided water through Sikaya. Food and hospitality were managed through Rifada. These were not acts of generosity. They were instruments of control, because when people depend on you, they don't challenge you. And in Mecca, everyone depended on the Quraysh. This was the peak. No empire ruled Arabia. No king sat on a throne in Mecca, and yet their authority was unquestioned. Tribes respected them. Caravans relied on them. Pilgrims honored them, not out of fear, but out of acceptance, which is far more powerful, because power enforced by fear invites rebellion, but power accepted as normal goes unchallenged. The Quraysh had achieved exactly that. They didn't need armies. Their influence moved through belief, through trade, through dependency. They were not just leaders. They were the center of a system that others depended on. But beneath all this power, there was a weakness, not visible, not spoken about, but real. The Quraysh believed. They controlled the Kaaba. They managed it, protected it, organized everything around it. Pilgrimage, trade, authority, all of it flowed through their hands. And from the outside, it looked like control, absolute control, but control and dependence are not the same thing, because what they saw as power was actually reliance. The Kaaba was not dependent on them. They were dependent on it. Every pillar of their dominance traced back to one point, the Kaaba. Their economy, built on pilgrimage. Their trade, sustained by the seasonal flow of tribes coming to Mecca. Their political influence, strengthened by their role as guardians of a sacred sanctuary. Even their identity was tied to it. They were not just a tribe. They were the caretakers of something greater, and that gave them status. But it also created risk, because when your entire system depends on one center, that center becomes your greatest vulnerability. If the Kaaba were ever threatened, everything would be tested, not just structurally, but psychologically, because their authority was not enforced by armies. It was reinforced by belief. And belief can shift. If the Kaaba lost its sanctity, pilgrimage would decline. If pilgrimage declined, trade would weaken. If trade weakened, wealth would disappear. And without wealth, influence collapses. This wasn't speculation. Arabian history had already shown it. Tribes rise, tribes fall, but systems built on a single dependency fall faster. The Quraysh had built something extraordinary, a network of religion, economy, and politics, all connected. But that connection was also a chain, because if one part breaks, everything feels it. And there was another flaw, a deeper one. They believed they were the protectors of the Kaaba. The Kaaba did not need protection from them. It would be protected. Without them, soon, A force would rise, not from within Mecca, not from their alliances, but from outside their system. An army, a march, a direct threat to everything they depended on, led by Abraham, advancing from Yemen toward Mecca, not for trade, not for negotiation, but for destruction. And in that moment, the illusion of control would be tested, because if the Kaaba fell, everything the Quraysh built would fall with it. Their economy, their influence, their identity, everything. This was the hidden flaw. Far to the south, beyond the deserts, beyond the trade routes, beyond the influence of Mecca, a ruler was watching, not a tribal chief, not a wandering leader, but a governor backed by power far greater than Arabia itself. Abraham. He ruled from Yemen, a land unlike Mecca, fertile, structured, connected to empires beyond the desert. He was not part of the Arabian system, and that was the difference. Because while the Quraysh built influence through balance, Abraham believed in control, direct, absolute. He did not see power as something negotiated. He saw it as something imposed. From his position, Mecca was not impressive. A dry valley, no rivers, no agriculture. And yet, people traveled across Arabia to reach it, not because of wealth, not because of empire, but because of the Kaaba. And that made it a problem. Because in Abraham's world, influence was not supposed to flow toward a desert sanctuary. It was supposed to flow toward him, toward his authority, his structure, his vision. So he made a decision, not impulsive, not emotional, strategic. If people were drawn to a sacred center, then that center could be replaced. Redirect the attention, and you redirect the people. Redirect the people, and you control the system. So Abraham began building something ambitious, a structure meant to rival the Kaaba, a place designed to attract pilgrimage, to shift devotion, to compete directly with Mecca, because he understood the same truth Quraysh had mastered. Control belief, and you control movement. Control movement, and you control power. But there was a problem. People did not come, not in the numbers he expected, not with the loyalty he demanded, because belief is not easily transferred. And the Kaaba was not just a structure,